Hey everyone, welcome back. Good to have you here. And hey, thanks for having me. Today's video isn't on one movie in particular, but rather a theme of sorts, or maybe just a similar motif that I've seen popping up here and there, which is not direct in the least bit in these films and may only hold the faintest hint of what I'm referring to, and that is the Great Work. A term used in Hermeticism to encapsulate the philosophies and traditions followed in pursuit of creating the Philosopher's Stone. And though there was a real attempt at creating a tangible alchemical result by extracting the essence from various ingredients in hopes of finding the perfect combination for the prima materia, drawing spirit out of matter, it has become more of a metaphor for the spiritual evolution of the soul, where one's inner alchemy transforms the lead of man's lower animal nature into the gold of the divine. But what makes the work so great is not just obtaining immortality or something like it, but that its overall goal spans generations, or maybe, in some cases, lifetimes. But more on this later. Now, these movies aren't necessarily about Hermeticism, but they all feature characters that are handed down information either from previous generations, or in the case of Infinite, previous lives. And personally, I throw Assassin's Creed in the lives category as well, given how often characters' ancestors are portrayed to look so much like them that they're played by the same actors. Of course, stories in which characters receive tools or information from previous generations is a fairly common plot device to catalyze the call to adventure. It just feels like there's something a little more to some of these, especially when things start to overlap from film to film. The first ones I'd like to discuss are Wanted with James McAvoy and Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender. In fact, I'll just include the whole franchise in general. In both, you have a secret order working to eliminate certain influential figures. Them both being about assassins isn't the focus, however. More so the idea of a very old fraternity taking steps to change the world however they see fit, and passing down this knowledge through a bloodline. In Wanted, Wesley is recruited because his father was an assassin, while characters in Assassin's Creed are tapping into what's described as their genetic memory. That is, memories passed down in their DNA. Rudimentary reincarnation? I'll let you be the judge. And though both properties have assassins making the world a better place through their efforts,
I just love killing.
Assassin's Creed has the benefit of multiple entries to flesh things out a bit more, with various artifacts of power and celestial alien gods. Okay, so they're invited into the orders via familial connections. No big whoop. I mean, as far as plot devices, it's either that or strangers who just so happen to find them and witness their assassin potential, right? Sure. But hang on.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
Let's just go back to the artifacts for a second, and the fact that Angelina Jolie played Wesley's mentor. What other franchise is she in where she's tasked with finding artifacts? Oh yeah, Tomb Raider. And I get it, they're not after artifacts in Wanted and Lara Croft isn't an assassin. This is true. Though in Assassin's Creed you are fighting against the Templars, and in certain entries you even find yourself on both sides. And what's this? A scene in which Lara is wearing a Templar cross on her shirt? Side note, I scoured the internet for that deleted scene and even bought the book in hopes that it would be in there, but alas, I found nothing. Just trying to show my commitment to my subscribers.
You know I do it for my fans.
Anyway, now we're shifting to the Templar side of things, just like in the games. And again, nothing too outlandish here. Characters finding out their family was part of an ancient fraternity, and they have to continue the legacy. Whether it's Angelina Jolie having to face the Illuminati, or Nick Cage having to steal the Declaration of Independence. You got your call to adventure in the knowledge of what their family did, and you got your MacGuffin in the various things they must acquire or protect. It's no big deal, and besides, they're totally different anyway. In Assassin's Creed, they're after the Apple of Eden, a glowing gold orb with mysterious power, whereas in Tomb Raider Cradle of Life, Lara is fully aware of what the glowing gold orb's power is. But seriously, we see the similarities. The orders, or fraternities, regardless of which side, or IP, represent the Hermetics, the mystery schools. The question now becomes, what's the Philosopher's Stone? Is it the glowing gold ball, like we've already seen? Or is it something less material? This brings us to the other films I wish to discuss. Earlier, I briefly mentioned Infinite with Mark Wahlberg. in which the mysterious order is tasked with finding its members over and over again, each leapfrogging, so to speak, as masters and teachers. I like this line from the trailer: "If you can remember who you were, you will understand who you can become." This feels like the closest to what we could potentially experience in our world, if we could develop a reliable practice of recalling past lives, that is. Granted, after rewatching it for this video, it made me wonder how much such an ability would mess with your head. We already have a hard enough time remaining in the present with memories from this life, never mind multiple lives. Next, there's The Old Guard with Charlize Theron, whose characters don't rely on new bodies for their immortality, but still follow the familiar plot of a secret order of people living and fighting from the shadows to protect the world from evil, etc. And last but certainly not least, we have Highlander with Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert, a story in which every couple centuries a select few immortals feel a mysterious force called the Quickening, compelling them across the globe to find and fight each other in order to absorb the loser's power, because, as we're told, there can be only one. With these last three films, something else that comes to mind is the idea of retaining skills through either an extended life or the transference of skills from other lifetimes. I've touched a bit on this idea in other videos, particularly The 13th Floor, where a character taps into skills from his other self, or higher self if you will, i.e. the self beyond the current ego identity, which potentially has access to the memories of other lives. This sort of reminds me of that quote from Gandhi: "Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever." Okay, now to tie this all together.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
In the first part, I touched on movies with characters either involved in secret societies or seeking artifacts with mysterious power, which represent the Philosopher's Stone. Granted, they were more focused on finding said item and not creating it, as is the focus of the great work. In the second half, I shared films in which characters already had immortality and so didn't require finding or making the Philosopher's Stone, and whose stories feel like they align more with the metaphorical pursuit, being the transformation of the soul, attaining outright immortality or something like it in conscious or semi-conscious reincarnation. Admittedly, I could be reaching with all of this, but maybe some of you can dig what I'm trying to lay down. Normally in my videos, I try to relate things back to our experience of awakening within the dream of reality. This one might prove to be more difficult, however. Though the practice of alchemy has seen a resurgence in modern day, most of us will have to settle for the inner alchemy of the soul, and will likely have to do so without being recruited by a secret fraternity. Oh well, at least we have the internet. When I think of the potential directions our spiritual evolution could take us, at least if we're continuing with incarnating into the physical and not wholly transcending the experience, one possibility that comes to mind is this fully lucid experience, overcoming the fear of death through consciously reincarnating and essentially becoming like an avatar, living and taking radical actions towards changing the world, maybe even eventually creating a secret fraternity of your own, where you guide others to do the same. Hell, for all we know, this could very well be what leads humanity to its golden age. I'm not sure if the Philosopher's Stone ever actually existed, but as for the metaphorical version, I feel like it's knowledge, or gnosis. The knowledge of the great work and the gnosis that leads internally to doing said work, which could also include various ancient practices or traditions, passed down from student to master, generation after generation, lifetime after lifetime. Well, that's all I really have to say about all that. Hope it wasn't too convoluted. I think I came to some concise points somewhere in there. I just thought it was interesting and kept seeing these and felt like sharing, so thank you so much if you got through to the end. Don't forget to do all the things, and I will see you next time.